The Princess and the Magical Book. Once upon a time, in a kingdom full of laughter and sunlight, there lived a curious princess named Clara. Clara loved stories more than anything else. She would spend hours in the royal library, reading about daring knights, wild dragons, and faraway lands. But her favourite stories were about magic. One rainy afternoon, Clara wandered into a dusty corner of the library she had never explored before. There, hidden behind a stack of old scrolls, was a book unlike any she had ever seen. Its cover shimmered like starlight, and strange golden letters spelled out the title, The Book of Riddles. "How exciting!" Clara whispered, brushing off the dust. She opened the book, and a bright light filled the room. Before she could blink, Clara felt herself being pulled into the pages. When the light faded, Clara found herself in a strange and colourful world. The sky sparkled like the northern lights, and the grass beneath her feet was as soft as velvet. "Where am I?" she wondered aloud. A small voice replied, "You're in the land of riddles." Clara spun around to see a talking squirrel wearing a tiny hat. "I'm Nutmeg, your guide. To leave this book and return home, you must solve 3 riddles," Nutmeg explained. "Each riddle will teach you something important. Are you ready?" Clara nodded, her heart fluttering with excitement and a little fear. "I'm ready." Nutmeg led Clara to a sparkling river. A rickety bridge stretched across it, but a sign read, "Only the kind may cross." "Come on, Princess," Nutmeg urged, his tail flicking nervously. "We only have 30 seconds before the bridge disappears, and if we don't make it, you'll be stuck here forever." Clara nodded, clutching her skirts, and they stepped onto the bridge. The planks creaked ominously beneath their feet as the rushing river sparkled far below. They hurried forward, each step feeling like an eternity. Halfway across, Clara froze. Beside the bridge, tangled in a cluster of vines that reached toward the water, lay a small bird with a broken wing. It chirped weakly, struggling against the vines that bound it. "Oh no!" Clara gasped. She knelt down and reached for the bird, her heart aching at the sight. "Clara, we don't have time!" Nutmeg cried, his voice sharp with urgency. "The bridge is disappearing behind us!" Clara hesitated, her mind racing. The vines wrapped tighter around the bird's delicate wing. "I can't leave it," she whispered. "It needs me." With trembling hands, she untangled the vines and cut the bird gently. It chirped softly as she set it on the ground, away from the water's edge. "Be safe, little one," she said, her voice barely audible over the roar of the river. Suddenly, the entire bridge began to glow. The planks beneath her feet steadied, and the vines that had bound the bird dissolved into golden dust. The weak bird fluttered its wings, and in a burst of light, it transformed into a shimmering dove. It hovered before her, its eyes gleaming with gratitude. "Kindness knows no time," the dove said in a melodic voice. "You have passed the test." With a flap of its wings, the dove soared ahead, and the rickety bridge solidified into a golden path. Clara and Nutmeg dashed across the remaining distance just as the last of the old planks crumbled into the river below. Panting on the other side, Nutmeg looked at her with wide eyes. You risked everything." Clara smiled, still catching her breath. "Some things are worth the risk, Nutmeg." The dove circled once above them before disappearing into the clouds, leaving behind a trail of golden feathers that shimmered in the sunlight. Nutmeg led Clara through a shimmering forest where trees sparkled like crystal under a golden sun. Their path wound deeper into the woods until they reached a clearing at its heart. There, sitting on a massive tree stump, was a grumpy troll with mossy hair and eyes that glinted like amber. The troll crossed his arms over his chest and glared at them. "No one passes through my forest without solving my riddle," he boomed. "But beware, Princess! Fail, and you will turn to stone. You have only one chance." Clara swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the troll's words. Nutmeg nudged her gently. "You've got this," he whispered. The troll leaned forward, his voice dropping to a menacing growl. "Listen carefully. I have arms but no hands. I stretch wide across the lands. My fingers reach toward the sky, yet in the ground my roots do lie. What am I?" Clara's heart pounded. The sparkling trees around her seemed to hold their breath, waiting for her response. She thought of the glistening forest, the vitality all around her. Then the answer dawned on her. "A tree," she said confidently, her voice steady despite her racing heartbeat. The troll's eyes widened. "Clever girl!" he roared, pounding the stump with his fist. With a snap of his fingers, the air around the clearing shimmered, and the path beyond the troll opened up, the trees parting like curtains. The troll stepped aside, gesturing grandly. "Go on then, you've earned it." As Clara and Nutmeg hurried past, she glanced back at the troll. His gruff expression softened for just a moment. "You've got more riddles ahead, Princess," he called after her. "May your wit be as sharp as your heart is kind." Clara smiled, her courage bolstered by the victory. "Thank you," she said, before stepping into the next part of the sparkling forest. Clara and Nutmeg emerged from the forest into a sunlit meadow where a single wooden door stood, suspended in mid-air. It was ornate and ancient, with intricate carvings of swirling patterns. Above it, glowing letters spelled out, "The final riddle awaits." Nutmeg's tail flicked nervously as he turned to Clara. "This is it. Beyond that door is the way home, but this last test isn't like the others. It's not about kindness or wit. It's about honesty." Clara tilted her head, her curiosity piqued. "What do you mean?" Before Nutmeg could answer, the door creaked open, and a voice echoed from within, calm yet commanding. "Princess Clara, step forward." Clara took a deep breath and approached. Inside the doorway, she saw a shimmering mirror that seemed to reflect not just her face, but her thoughts and feelings. "Here is your final test," the voice continued. "Answer truthfully, and the path home will open. But lie, and you will remain here forever." The question followed, simple yet profound. "Why do you wish to return home?" Clara hesitated, her mind racing. She thought of the comfort of the palace, her parents' warm embraces, and the familiar scent of the royal library. But she also thought of the magical world she had explored and the lessons she had learned, the value of kindness and courage, the beauty of curiosity and adventure. What was the honest answer? After a moment, she took a deep breath and spoke from her heart. "I want to go home because I miss the people I love," she said, her voice steady. "But I've also realized that the world is full of wonders I've yet to discover. I want to return home so I can share what I've learned and continue seeking adventures, wherever they may lead." The mirror shimmered, and Clara's reflection smiled back at her. The voice spoke again, warm and approving. "Honesty is not just in words, but in the courage to reveal your true self. You have passed." The door swung wide, revealing a golden path leading back to the royal library. Nutmeg leapt with joy, his tiny hat askew. "You did it, Clara!" Clara turned to Nutmeg, her eyes shining. "Thank you for guiding me." Nutmeg grinned. "You didn't need much guidance. Your heart was your compass all along." As Clara stepped through the door, the magical world faded into light. When she opened her eyes, she was back in the library, the shimmering book of riddles closed before her. A golden feather rested on its cover, a reminder of her journey. From that day forward, Princess Clara dedicated herself to sharing the wisdom of her journey, inspiring the kingdom with tales of courage, kindness, and discovery, proving that the greatest treasures come from the lessons we carry in our hearts. And so, the tale of the princess and the magical book became a cherished legend in the royal library, a story that Clara carried in her heart as she continued to seek new adventures every day.